Hey, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be on.
Thanks to have you on finally. I know it's been a long time coming. I think you and I have been throwing messages around for maybe a year or something. But you're incredibly busy, so I appreciate you making the time. All right, so people heard the formal intro, before they started this podcast, but give us the personal intro of Jonathan McKinnies. How long have you been in the biz, kind of average volume, and what do you love about the biz?
Yeah, been in the mortgage business for about, I would say 13 years now. I serve over 200 families a year. That's kind of the goal. So we're going to be approaching around 211 families this year. Average loan amounts in my market where I'm at, I'm in the South Bend, Indiana area. If you know where Notre Dame is, we're right by Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
And so our average loan amounts are right in that 160 price range.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not overly huge, but we do serve quite a few families. So we have to make sure we're serving a lot of people in order for us to do a good job. We're this year going to close volume around 33 million or so in volume within my team. I do manage a branch of loan officers. There's about 10 of us that produce, and I am a producing branch manager myself. And so I love the business because I got in it not thinking that I would really thrive necessarily in a sales position, because I don't see myself as, there's nothing wrong with sales. I love sales. That's what I'm in. But I was really an introvert growing up. And so I never really thought that I would be this person that can make waves within the industry until I changed my mindset and I started thinking more about how I can make an impact on people and positively influence people using the idea of my knowledge to give good advice. And so I think if we kind of flip our mentality into thinking that we're not just in sales, we're not trying to sell somebody on a mortgage product, we're trying to give people trusted advice. And I feel like that tears down some barriers in my mind. And it sort of helped me move to a better level of this industry, really.
Yeah. So and by the way, thank you for the intro. Within that, does that mean at some point in the near or recent past that you made a shift to being more of an educator rather than just, quote, sales?
Yeah, I think so. I always follow. Here's how I sort of got groomed in the business. I followed a really good mentor, and he connected me to all of the kind of mortgage gurus of the time. And so, the Todd Duncan scripts, the high trust sales, that was like the first thing. When I first got into the business, I was dealing with high trust, kind of scripting and making sure that I kind of catered to my client very well, but it took a little while for me to kind of take off. And so we started with that. I'm actually in the core coaching training. So that's real estate and lending coaching. And so I'm a part of that program as well. And so I think I've always had a mentality of educating people, but I never thought that I was the expert, So for me, the struggle was getting to a point where I feel like I can actually give good advice. And so it took a few years for that to happen. But I think that my business has always been built on that idea of being the expert and being somebody that I think represents the business in a professional manner. That was a big thing for me, because I remember when I was kind of getting into the Todd Duncan things, they always talk about overcoming objections and the different objections that you may face in your career at certain seasons of your career. And one of the objections that I felt was a critical hurdle for me to get over was getting into the business at a very young age. And so I'm only 35 right now. And I started, when I was just past my legal drinking age. I was like 22 or so, or 21 or so when I got in. I was still in college. And so I didn't even own a home when I first got into the business, and I was giving mortgages to people. And so it was really difficult. So I had to get to a point where, what can I bring that's a unique value proposition to my clients where they don't think that I'm just some guy that doesn't know anything. And so I wanted to make sure I came to work with professional clothes on, that I had really good scripts, that I made sure that I was as polished as possible when it comes to lending guidelines. And so I was just a sponge when I first got in. And I think that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I would agree. It's funny you mentioned Duncan back in the early days. I was on a similar path. Back in 2003, when I began, there really was no training. It was, here's your business cards, hit the bricks, pal.
Right.
But then I saw in my manager's office, there was a set of the Todd Duncan tapes, and I was like, oh, what's this? And yeah, so that to me as well, I always give a shout out and kudos to Todd Duncan for, I think, bringing a certain level of professionalism, much similar to that of like a financial advisor. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's good to know we're both cut from the same cloth there. So it sounds like since then, though, you got the training, the coaching, the guidance to get more confidence, right? Coming from a young person. I understand what you mean. Hey, I don't even own a home. Who am I to tell these people about getting a mortgage?
Right.
When do you think, did something happen where it clicked and shifted for you, or was it just the consistent application of that over time?
There was this sort of catalyst kind of moment that took place where I realized I could do this. And so when I got in, I actually have some family that's in the mortgage, in the real estate business, a couple of real estate agents, my brother and my uncle. And I thought when I would get in, well, I would obviously get business from them. Well, it wasn't that easy. They were very, seasoned, ingrained in the industry. They knew they had their relationships built. And so it wasn't as easy as I thought. And so I was in the business for about 6 months. And I remember going to my branch manager, and I was nearly in tears thinking that there's just no way that I'm going to make it in this business. I don't like it. I don't like rejection. I don't feel like I'm making any headway. And he encouraged me to stick with it. I was able to make ends meet because I didn't have much in expenses while I was still living at home at the time. And so I stuck it out for a little bit longer, and it seemed like I got over that hurdle closer to that 10 to 12 month mark, really, where I started to see some consistent growth.
Yeah.
And with that consistency, it became more of a residual thing where I've got relationships built. And over time, when you start building those relationships, if you don't do anything that's going to jeopardize that relationship or dishonor the relationship of a referral source, then you can start having a more predictable income. And I think it took still, though, roughly that 12 to 24 months. And I remember vividly when I first started thinking, oh, man, I was just kind of in my mind praying, I just wish I could snap my fingers and it would be 5 years later, because then I know that all that extra effort would have already been established. And, of course, it doesn't work that way. But it was just time and effort. But I do think it was around that 10 to 12 month mark is when I started kind of going over that hump a little bit.
But a lot of it is mindset as well. So I'm sure your mindset kind of evolved as you had more successes. You leveled up your knowledge, your expertise. You felt like you were actually making a difference on those daily conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I remember a manager saying something to me once when I was new at something and I was feeling unsure about myself. And he basically asked me, so why are you having these limitations or whatever? I said, well, because I'm new. Right. And he goes, well, how long do you want to be new?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
yeah.
It's up to me.
Right.
How long I want to be new. They don't know that. So
yeah, that reminds me when I was obviously new, you base your, sometimes you'll base your conversations on how many years you've been in the business. We started flipping that and kind of creating my own scripting. And I think it might've been a Todd Duncan script, or it could have been somebody else, but either way, they said, I don't base my experience necessarily on years in the business. I base my experience on transactions that I've had and how many families I served. And so as you serve more families, as you have more transactions under your belt, you can say that that's my success record as opposed to, I've been in the business for 30 years. Well, I don't care if you've been in the business for 30 years. If you only were serving 10 families a year, it doesn't matter. How many families are you serving? And so you can start changing your scripting and your mental stories you tell yourself, I think. And that makes a big difference. I
love that. That's actually, for those listening, that might be a good script to integrate into your conversations. If you ever get in that situation where you need to kind of demonstrate your knowledge or expertise, well, on average, Mr. and Mrs. prospect or customer, I'm helping over 200 families a year. You know what I mean? So that's my level of expertise that I bring to this conversation. Right. And that's why I'm not all about the lowest price, right? I'm an advisor. Mm-hmm. Love that. Absolutely. Love that. Okay. Very cool, man. Thank you for sharing that. It's good background. Mm-hmm. Before we go on to my next subject, which is, of course, you being yourself a media brand, you did mention Notre Dame. I'm curious if you're a fan.
I am a fan of Notre Dame. Yes.
All right. Well, in full disclosure, I am a fan of Iowa State.
Oh, okay.
We are playing in the bowl, man, coming up the Camping World Bowl, which I will be at in Orlando. Yeah. My wife's sister's son is Brock Purdy, the quarterback for Iowa State.
Very cool. Yeah, that hopefully should be a good game. I think that Iowa State might be a little underrated. They're actually a pretty good team. So we'll see. And Notre Dame tends to crumble in the bowl games. And so this might be a game where it's a good one, hopefully.
I know, man. It's going to be a good show. Hopefully that's all that matters. So anyway, I didn't want to let the moment pass without remembering to bring that up. Friendly rivalry there. Okay. So what really brought you on my radar, amongst a variety of things, you're active in the mortgage coach community, right?
Yes.
Mortgage coach user, right? And all that kind of stuff. So we're all in some of these similar communities on Facebook or whatnot. But what I started to notice from you, just on my own radar, it came up about a year ago, is you building this personal brand that is largely driven by being, kind of a local media entity in your local area, using video. And so I want to kind of unpack the conversation today about that. You've created this show. It's Michiana Living TV. Is that correct?
Correct. That's the name. Mm-hmm.
All right. So how long have you been doing that show?
It's actually been a good roughly year and a half, going on the 2-year point. Mm-hmm. And full disclosure too, it actually wasn't my original idea. It was actually the idea of our marketing department within my mortgage company, Hallmark Home Mortgage. And they're the ones who kind of got a test group of subjects, if you will, of different loan officers that they thought would be able to run with this idea. And, it's one thing having an idea, it's another thing implementing an idea. And the struggle with most, just like mortgage coach users, I mean, there's a lot of people that have access to it, but they'll never implement it because they just never take that next step. Mm-hmm. And so it's something that was given to many of us, but very few people actually stuck with it. And so they created this brand opportunity, and I just continued to run with it and created my own channel. So as a company, we have our own kind of marketing channel, if you will, within Facebook. Okay. And they have their own YouTube and everything. But they said, hey, you can do this on a local level as well. You create your own brand and do that. And so that's what I've done.
So who came up with Michiana Living?
I came up with the name Michiana Living TV. And Michiana, if you're not from around here, you wouldn't really know what it means because it's, to me, hyper local. You're dealing with where we're located in northern Indiana and southern Michigan, southwest Michigan. They call it Michiana because we're on that state line of Michigan and Indiana. So we can kind of cross. I'm licensed in both states when it comes to mortgages. So for those that are local, it makes perfect sense.
Right. Yeah. People see that. Local people, they get it, which is a great point, by the way, hyper local. Why did you recognize that as an opportunity for you? What did you see in that when that came up?
Well, one of the things in the mortgage space that we're in right now is you're dealing with way more competition, and a lot of it is online competition, and you're dealing with out of the area competition. And one of the things that I mentally said, or the decisions that kind of kept me doing this was buyers needing to see the value of a local professional. And it's one thing saying I'm a local professional. It's another thing saying I'm investing in the community that I'm in. And so when we can connect with businesses, I mean, there's so many reasons, but I'll explain. The first one is I just felt like being that community lender is the message that we want to get across, and we're ingrained in the community. And that's one more reason why a person should see the value in working with this local lender. Mm-hmm. Okay. That was the first reason.
All right. So you wanted to be known, establish a local community presence, invested in the community. What about, let's reference Gary Vee for a second, right? Are you a follower of Gary's?
Yes. Okay. No, I mean, vaguely. I mean, not always, but yes, I do know him.
Well, he coined the phrase several years ago about become the digital mayor, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, it looks like, did that have any influence on you in terms of that whole, how can I say this? That whole messaging, that whole kind of push from people like Gary and others that we now, our personal brand is really the only difference maker.
Absolutely. And Dave Savage with Mortgage Coach brought that up to me multiple times. And that's something that has stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where I think Gary Vee actually said that you can't, and Kai McBride had brought it up in an interview that I was on with him and Dave Savage. And he brought up the fact that you can't necessarily measure your ROI on a video that you do or on maybe a podcast in particular, like how many new leads that I get from that particular podcast, but you can influence people in a more organic way. And that's how I see it. I see it as not so much where, hey, I've done so many new podcast interviews, or I've done so many new Michiana Living TV interviews, therefore I've got this many more closings. That I think that comes maybe, but it's hard for you to measure it. It's hard for you to measure because you're just continuing to find ways to influence people. And this is just one more platform to positively influence the community.
Well, thus far, about a year and a half in, have you had anybody who, comes to you to get a mortgage by way of your local brand exposure with Michiana Living TV?
Oh, absolutely. We've done it because we do it in a way where now we're very careful not to push mortgages down people's throat when it comes to the video. We do want to be a genuine resource within the community.
Yep.
And so we start there. We just have very intentional branding. So at the end of the video, you'll see our logo, and then we'll be sharing it within our personal groups and some of the friends that we have within our social media community. And that has been very influential, where we get messages online and people asking questions regarding the mortgage industry. And for me, it's not even that. What it does when I have a very low threat reason to get in front of a business owner within our area, what it does is it gives me an open door and a platform to connect with businesses. Right. And so what you're doing is you're getting out in front of a guy that owns a business that's very successful, and you're interviewing them, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you free advertising on our social media page, and we just want to show some love to our local businesses in the area. Yeah. And so that's like the other, we give business cards and we connect with those business owners. That's the other avenue that we're taking. So it's not just social, it's actually personal when we're meeting with those business owners.
So then I would say kind of organically, what's bubbling up for you is people realize, oh, you're also in the mortgage business. And by default, people are asking you questions or maybe sending you referrals or something.
Absolutely. And so for me though, there's so many reasons why I do it. So the third or fourth reason, whatever I've mentioned so far, is I'm a branch manager. I'm a producing branch manager. And therefore I want to make sure that whatever activities I do, I try to share the wealth. I try to tell my loan officers, here's what you can do as well. Right. And so what I did is I created this page where I actually help my loan officers go out and they can do their own interviews as well. So they can connect with other businesses. And I'm the one just helping produce the video and getting it to our marketing department for them. And so the other thing is it allows them to connect with businesses. We have one that's posting right now. We're actually doing something called the Michiana Living Pizza Tour, where we're going to different restaurants that are pizzerias in the area. And I have one of my loan officers that I went to this place called Luigi's Pizza. Mm-hmm. And he did the interview. I was there and I helped him. He gave his business cards, and he's the one who is the host of that interview, but it's on the Michiana Living page. And so what it's doing is it's me on a social media platform connecting with people, right. Me personally connecting with businesses, me adding value to my loan officers within my company, and allowing them to connect with businesses as well. And so that's how I see it.
Now, when you say on the page, right, where do all these videos live? I'm on your Facebook page, and we'll put links to all this in the show notes. But where else does it live? Is it just on that Michiana Living Facebook page?
Yes. Right now in the stage that we're in, and this is simply because I'm just going off of my marketing department's, their goals. Okay. And right now they feel like, on a local level, the most influence we're going to have is going to be through Facebook. And then of course they do want to get to Instagram, but it's a little bit tricky on Instagram because you have the way you do video.
You got to slice it up. Yep.
Yeah, just a little bit different. So we haven't really gotten through the Instagram space, but it's right now in our infancy stages. We're just on Facebook right now.
All right. So no, it's not on YouTube yet either.
It's not. I don't have mine on YouTube now. Our company may have their own, but it's not anything that has a ton of followers. It's mainly we get more of our attraction comes from Facebook.
Yeah, let's speak about that for a moment. Actually, your engagement is amazing. What's the population of Michiana?
Well, when it comes to Michiana, you're probably looking at, we're looking at Southwest Michigan along with Northern Indiana. So you're probably close to around maybe 300,000.
Wow, that's small.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, where I used to live in Orange County, man, there was 3 million people just in Orange County, All right, so I'm looking at your view counts here. And by the way, I'm not doing this for vanity metrics or anything like that, but it speaks for itself. Just a video you posted a week ago, December 4th, and we're recording this, it's December 10th, so 6 days. You've got 1,000 views already on this mouthwatering pizzas in South Bend's East Bank Village. You got this other pizza place, 1.6 thousand views. yeah, 1.6 views. Yeah, I mean, you're averaging over 1 to 3, even as high as 5,000 videos on views on these videos, man.
Yep.
I mean, that's significant.
Yeah, we boost. We pay $25 to boost mainly. So
you'll take a video that's already getting some good engagement, and you'll just boost it rather than do the whole full ad thing.
Yeah, we just boost it for $25. That's it. That's the marketing budget.
And that's what you think is driving up the views, is because that's exposing it to so many more people?
It's actually not. So when I look at the metrics on it, most of it is organic. And Facebook will tell you if it's organic or if it's paid views, paid advertisements. So most of it's organic. Yeah.
Why do you think it's getting such good traction?
Because we're local businesses. And so it's just, we're one of the things we do is we try to make sure we're friends with a lot of people. And so, for me personally, I'm sharing it on my other pages, and there's, I've got, in close to 3,000, friends or followers on my personal business page. And so for me, it's just, locally speaking, we're connecting on a local level with people. And most of the businesses that we interview, they have their own followers as well. And so when you tag that business, you're tagging their followers, and they're seeing that on their page as well, if they allow that to land on their page.
Tell me about briefly your process for reaching out to companies. And I'm wondering if now you're such a known entity that they know who's calling, but tell me about that, how you reach out to a business.
Yeah, so we do a couple things. Like, there's one strategy that we've used what we've used for the pizza one is maybe a month or so ago, we'll just post a question on the page that says, hey, Michiana, something along those lines. What's your favorite pizzeria in the area? And so then we'll just get a lot of comments. So that allows us then to reach out to that pizzeria and say, hey, we had a lot of comments. They said that you'd be a great person to interview. So that's one thing. Another thing we do is we just connect with the ones that we may have already had relationships with, that we go to ourselves.
Right.
And, and that's pretty easy. We already go there. Like that Barnaby's Pizza, the one that you recently saw, that one is a place that I personally have gone to. And
50 years there. Wow.
Yeah. And so, they're a staple. They don't need the video. I mean, they already have enough followers. Right. We want the video because of all their followers. We want to highlight them because of all the people that are fans of theirs. And so we like to connect with them. So I think you do it in multiple ways, but we do get messages on Facebook asking for the interview. Like we had one recently. We went to a place called Napanee, Indiana, just a small town that's in the Michiana area. So I think if you start adding other towns, we would be over 300,000. Sure. But we went to Napanee, and it was a husband of the owner that wanted us to interview his wife, who had just opened this bakery. And that was a hit in Napanee, just a small town, but we had over 80 shares. We had multiple comments about how they do a tremendous job. And we went to another small town in North Liberty. Somebody reached out to us about doing the interview with them. In those small town places, they have a lot of fans. And so it's just been really cool.
Who's covering the expense for this?
Well, this is where it gets tricky. So if you're trying to do this on your own, it gets a little bit harder, but we actually have our own marketing department within Hallmark that, so how it looks when it comes to shooting the video and then turning the video in. We shoot all the videos on an iPhone.
Really?
Yep. We shoot all the videos on an iPhone.
The videos look really good, by the way. For those, you got to go watch the videos.
Thank you. Yeah. So we try to get the lighting right. I mean, sometimes the lighting's not great, and it shows at times. But we're not trying to go for 100% this just ultra quality. We're going for content and decent enough quality. And we've had people marketing companies reach out to me saying, "Hey, I can help you with your audio and make it sound better." And I said, "Hey, I don't need that. It's all good." So use an iPhone. We have a tripod we got from Amazon. We have a lapel mic that we plug into the bottom of the iPhone. And then we have just a little camera kit that has a light on it. So if I'm in an area where it's not the best lighting, then I can turn a little mini light on. Right. It helps a little bit. I have a gimbal, an Osmo gimbal, where I put my phone in, where you can put your cell phone in and it makes it smoother when you're doing your B-roll. They call it B-roll when you do the footage that goes over the interview. And so we do all of that with myself. So nobody else, there's no crew, there's nobody else there. And then sometimes my wife goes, or somebody from our office will be the one running the camera. So there's nothing crazy about that. Once I get the video clips in, all I do is we have kind of like a Dropbox, similar to Dropbox, a function in our company where we just put the videos in that Dropbox function. And then the people in our marketing department has access to that folder. They just jump in there and they start putting together the videos.
They edit it for you.
They do the editing. That's the cost. That's company cost. So there's no cost to me besides the equipment that I bought myself.
But that's not hitting your P&Ls or anything.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It is not. I'm a retail branch, so I don't run a P&L like some others would, but I would imagine if I was running a P&L, it might be a little bit different. So that would be something that each company would probably be unique to.
Well, again, man, I was not under the impression that you were doing most of this filming by yourself. Now, a couple of the films you can tell, obviously you got somebody else there because of the way the camera's moving. But in general, for the interviews, it's not a wireless lapel, it's a wired lapel mic, right?
Yep.
So you got the dual thing kind of going into the phone, right?
Yep.
So very basic. I mean, the setup you described, I mean, a couple $100 maybe.
That's it.
You know, that's it. And you got the gimbal, so you're doing your own B-roll, which is you just kind of, and again, everybody who's listening, go and look at the videos and stuff, right? Like the pizza example, because that's the most recent one. You're scanning the pizza ovens and the counter and the, all the visuals that help you take in what this place, somebody putting the pizza in the oven. That's just you standing there with your gimbal.
That's it. That's all it is.
The impression is that the production value is higher than that, I have to say.
Yeah.
So good job.
Thanks. Yeah. But now I don't produce them, and that's where it gets tricky. And so you could do that. I don't know if I'd have the time to produce on my own.
By produce, you mean edit?
Edit it, I should say.
Yeah. Right. No, I 100% you should outsource editing. 100%. Yeah. We should not be doing that. And there's enough affordable places or people to do that, whether it's young people in your area, Fiverr, Upwork, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I got a video editor. If somebody needs one, let me know. But very, very smart. Okay, so in terms of you interviewing people, was that a natural for you?
I was clunky maybe my first when I was just doing some kind
Welcome
of
to the club, man.
Role playing. It kind of it was not that normal, but you know what? It does. It's just kind of it's just a part of the interview process. It's kind of easy for me to ask the few quick questions. I mean, all the questions when it comes to the businesses are very similar. You do your intro, you do your top 3 questions. How'd you get started? What are you known for? What are some other things? And how can people connect with you? That kind of stuff. So it's pretty easy flow.
Interesting. And it's something you enjoy doing.
Yeah, I feel like I can communicate well enough where it's clear. I don't feel like that's a struggle. I think that may be one of my strong suits. I'm okay with communicating. I'm okay with being in front of my cell phone, the camera. I'm okay with social media. I've embraced that. I initially, maybe a few years ago, I didn't like it. I almost was at a point where, I'd rather not get business that way, but it's so far down the road in our society where you've got to embrace video. You got to embrace social media. And if you don't, you may be mediocre at best.
So you chose to adapt instead of play the ostrich.
Yeah, I think you need to. I mean, you could probably survive in the business to an extent if you don't do that, but you certainly would not create a brand, and you certainly would not be as much of an influencer if you did it the old school way.
Well, all right. And so that goes back to, what are you left with if you don't have a personal brand? You're left with price.
That's right.
You're a commodity. If you don't have any compelling value proposition for the customer to choose you over somebody else, I mean, let's face it, a lot of people are probably drawn to want to consider you for their mortgage needs, mainly because you're clearly all about local.
Right.
And they'd rather, a fair amount or a larger percentage of people would rather support the local than off to some big box company.
Right. No, I got to agree with you. I think you have to have a compelling reason to work with you besides just saying that, my rates and fees are better than everyone else's, because unfortunately that's not always the case,
And by the way, for people listening and you're not yet ready to get started on video, the questions that you're posting in your Facebook group or page, I should say, are great questions to drive interaction and engagement anyways. Think about where you live right now. Like some of the questions, Jonathan, you're posting in there is, what's your favorite pizza place in Michiana, right? Another one was, what restaurant serves up the best breakfast? And those are straight up great social engagement questions that will, I mean, look at this one, 64 comments, you know. People love those questions, and people love to give props to local places they like.
Absolutely.
So that's just one quick tip for you to easily get started. And then secondly, I mean, I'm just following your Facebook page, so you're going to get a lot of additional traffic and likes and views, which is cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. But like I'm looking at the Studebaker Fountain in South Bend. It looks really cool and beautiful. There's well-lit fountain at night and everything, all these cool colored lights. But these are conversational things that are, yes, topical, but give you something to talk about other than just, hey, conforming rates have gone up, you know?
Right.
Loan limits.
Yeah. And actually, you know, to maybe digress just a moment, it allows us to engage with some of our real estate agents. Now,
bingo.
There are real estate agents that we have had on as guest interviewers.
Yes. Right.
And so I said, hey, connect us to a business that you want us to support. And so we've had multiple real estate agents on the videos with us. Now, it's difficult because a lot of people still have not embraced video and they're not wanting to be on there. But this gives us a reason to reach out to our business partners and add value to them as well and say, hey, you know, we'll do it together. I'll help you out. We'll do the interview and I'll give you the questions to ask, and hopefully we can add value to your business. I had a real estate agent that I work with have one of her past clients who owns a cute little boutique, you know, shop. And we went to that shop with the real estate agent because it was that realtor's past client. So she was able to add value to her client, which is really cool. So yeah, that was another thing.
How do you choose who you want to feature as an agent? And do you have to deal with people wanting to get on the show who you don't want to team up with as far as agents? You know, what's funny is that we have not had that problem. Oh, you thought that we initially did, because we actually had a luncheon, like a breakfast, where it was invite only to people about social media and about this page. Right. And we thought that there was going to be this, man, a lot of them were, hey, can I be on there? Can I be on there? And, you know, we haven't had a lot of people. I think it goes back to that old issue, that Achilles heel of people of not wanting to be on video or not wanting to step out. And so in order for it to happen, we have to almost proactively ask the real estate agents, do you want to be on? And so, you know, it just hasn't been as much of an issue as we thought, but it is a value add when we take the time to make that call to that agent though. Awesome. So, awesome. Yeah. Good stuff, man. I mean, definitely you're leading from the front in terms of like video content and things like that. That's why I wanted to have you on. Very impressive. Thank you. Also, you started you just must have like this, I don't know, crazy amount of tolerance for punishment. You started a podcast as well? Yeah, I did. I went ahead and tried something out. I was speaking to a buddy of mine who I did a loan for, and he started a podcast in our market. It's called South Bend Beat, actually. So if anyone wants to know more about South Bend, he does a really good job. His name is Kyle O'Connor. But I connected with him, and I asked him, how do you get your podcast going? And he connected me with a guy that helps him produce it in our local area. And his name's Michael Yoder. And young, just great professional. That's all he does. He helps produce podcasts within our area, but all over the country is what it sounds like. But anyway, I connected with him, had coffee with him. He told me that's the way to do it. He says, you should be on podcasts. I said, okay, I'll try it out. Let's test it out. I'm not doing anything great. I'm not doing video podcasting or anything like that right now. And I said, you know, what can I do that would add value? It's not so much always business. It's just what is going to fulfill me. And I feel like sometimes we and this is something that I put out on a video once, that we get so caught up in reacting all the time in life and being overly distracted in life and always at the mercy of other people's agendas that we never create. And if you never create, then I believe you live an unfulfilled life. And I think we were created to be creative. And I thought that was the thing going into kind of being in that podcast, was like, you know what, I want to create something that might be kind of cool. And so I started doing that. It's called Purpose and Performance, where really I have business people on, I have past clients, I've had real estate agents on,
I've done it on my own, where I just go through a 30-minute, 40-minute podcast interview, just like we're doing now, and trying to get some value, some nuggets that would help people with personal growth and find more purpose in their life.
That's great, man. And so you've been doing that roughly a year, right?
Yeah, it's been about a year and a half. I'm on my fall 2019. So this is like my second season, I guess you would call it. Yeah. And so I've got about maybe 5 more episodes to record for the 2019 season, but it's out on, Podbean, iTunes, Google.
Yeah, we'll put links to that as well. So this leads to the question which I know is circulating through some people's minds, which is, how do you find the time to do it all?
Well, delegation is key. And so as you noted, I do not edit the Michiana Living videos. I do not produce or edit the podcast recordings that I do.
Okay.
And I have a team that helps me with production as well.
Okay.
Now, I am the only one that's actually out producing. So it's not like I'm in the office and I've got 3 other guys that are loan officers going out and getting business. They're actually internal production partners that are like transaction manager. I have a transaction manager, 2 production partners that help me. So when the phone rings, they can answer the phone.
Right.
They can help schedule my appointments and things of that nature. I could not do it if I was doing the same amount of volume and I didn't have a team.
Right.
There's no way.
Okay. So it sounds like what you're doing is you are focused on the critical few, right? And delegating all the rest.
Yeah. I mean, the goal for our team is always for me to meet with all the clients. So it's not like I'm not meeting with anybody. I am wanting to meet face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
Going over the mortgage coach presentation face-to-face with as many clients as possible. Yep. I'm trying to have as many face-to-face appointments with real estate agents or VIPs as possible. I'm trying to have good, enriching phone calls every week.
Yep.
We're trying to do the tactical kind of old school things, getting in front of people, making the phone calls, sending the thank you cards. I'm doing those things personally. And what they're doing is they're just kind of starting the process. So they're getting the loan application started. They're maybe getting documentation from a client. They're scheduling the appointment with me. So that, and my transaction manager, once that loan is submitted, then she's helping process. She's not a processor. We've got a processor that's dedicated to the loan, but she's the one that's helping with any fires that need to be put out. She's communicating when the appraisal comes back. She's giving me certain touch points where, Jonathan, you need to make the phone call on this. So it's just, they do a really good job of being very, good at their job. They're okay with having that, I guess the ability to make their own decisions because they know what they're doing. They're professionals.
So are you taking all your loan apps?
No, I don't take all the loan apps. No.
Okay.
So I don't generally answer the first phone call. The phone call will be answered by Hannah. That's on my team. So she's kind of that director of first impressions, and she's the one that's taking the intake call. She is licensed.
Sure.
And so she can actually quote rates if she wanted to. She can go through all the mortgage coach TCAs and she could do all that. She doesn't necessarily have to do all that because my goal is to be the one going over the product information, going over the rates. I'm the one that generally locks in the loan. And then I hand it off to Laura, my transaction manager, after that's done. So I'm really involved.
Yeah, your front-end lead person, though, like you said, director of first impressions, is she collecting a full 1003 or just the basic, needs and wants? Oh, she is. Okay.
She is, yeah. So if she was not licensed, I think I would be probably having her. I used to have somebody that wasn't licensed. They were kind of taking that intake, the hopes and dreams call kind of thing, and then handing it off. But, Hannah's able to do a little bit more than that and analyze a pay stub and look at W-2s and bank statements and things like that. And then she can issue pre-approval letters for me as well. But the goal is to have as many appointments with me following up with that client as possible. So I always want them to know, especially my referral sources, I want them to know that I'm still involved in these transactions. It's not like Jonathan's just a team in name, but he's never involved in anything. I'm involved in every file.
Yeah, that's good, man. Nice system you've got there. It's funny because I just recorded a podcast prior to this. Somebody just 3 years in the biz and already hired their first assistant before hitting the 3-year mark, which had allowed him to grow to basically double his business.
That's awesome.
Doing 82 units, and it's going to probably do another multiple of that in the next year. But again, without a team, you can't grow.
Right. No, you have to be willing to invest. I think that's a problem. Most people call it spending money, but I see it more as an investment.
Yes, you're a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to invest in your business. All right. So just for the sake of time here, we're going to have to wrap it up. But what are you planning for 2020? Marketing or biz wise, that's
Yeah.
different or worthy of sharing.
Well, we want to serve around 250 families. That's our goal. So I think that's an attainable goal. My team is at a level where I think we don't need to necessarily add another person on. As a branch manager, I'd like to recruit one or two more people for the next year, and in certain surrounding areas that we're in. As a producing loan officer, I think keeping many of the tactics that we're doing now, but keeping them and also actually following through. So I'm thinking of my word for the year. And so we all come up with our word. And my word, I believe, there's so many words I was thinking about, but being effective is the word that I'm thinking of. I want to be effective in all that I do. I don't want to just show up for the sake of showing up, but I want all the activities that I do to be effective and be impactful. One of the things that we're going to do outside of just making my calls, doing my face-to-faces, doing the Michiana Living, doing the podcasting and all that, I've implemented two things this last couple years that really has helped me. Mastermind meetings with my real estate agent partners. Okay. So sitting down with them and having a group of between 8 and 10 realtors in our local market. And then I'm like the moderator, and I'll just be able to go through maybe 3 questions and go around the room and try to pull out some good nuggets for everybody. And then I'll be the one that kind of is recording the event. And then I share all the information. So I'm not the one presenting. I'm just the one that's inviting, holding the venue, and being the one that takes the notes. So the masterminds are really good.
Well, by the way, how frequent are those?
Well, this last year, what I did is I made it a point where it wasn't going to be like, hey, every other week or every month, you guys have to commit to this. I said, no commitment. So what I did is I just individually, I said, hey, we're going to do one at the beginning of the year, which we did. And then I did another one toward the latter part of the year in the fall. Okay. So I did 2, but they were with 3 separate groups.
Yep. Different agents in each group.
Exactly. Different agents in each group. So that was really cool because you're getting in front of about 30 agents each time you do it separately,
Yes, right.
And you have the same set of questions. So it's not like you're having to reinvent the wheel for this.
And you're learning from each one to make the next one better.
Absolutely. And so that's been really helpful for me, and it's been a nice value add. The second thing is finally getting off of the idea of being nervous about doing client appreciation events. I've never done client appreciation events. So we're doing one in January, and we're going to do another one most likely in the spring or the fall. But we're going to do ice skating with families where we're going to call up to 50 people of our VIP clients and invite them to family ice skating day at Howard Park, which is actually on the Michiana Living page. They just renovated the park, and we figure we piggyback off of the new renovations and have ice skating day. And so we're going to do that as well.
Love that. Love that. Very smart. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, and I'm glad you did. Client appreciation events. I don't hear a lot of that in the mortgage space. It's pretty common in the real estate space for the savvy agents, but for some reason, why don't LOs do it? It's like, why shouldn't you do it?
Yeah, it was a struggle for me, and this will be my first one that I'm really doing. And I don't know. I felt like maybe mentally you feel like maybe the relationship's better built by the realtor. And I don't know. I'm not sure why I never did. It's just maybe laziness or it's just fear, but I'm doing it. So we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, no, good for you, man. Way to step out and be bold. Real quickly, the mastermind things, that's something that's always of interest to me. Have you ever had agents reluctant to attend or decline because, they don't want to be there? And, there's some agents that have that mindset.
Yes. So I preface it by saying that this is only useful if you're willing to share. And if you're not willing to share, then you may not be a good fit for the group. So the first thing that we say is you have to be willing to share, and you have to be willing to be a part of the dialogue and the discussion. And I tell them there's no secrets here. So we need to know it's a safe place. I tell them we're not talking commissions. We're not talking comp structures within your offices. We're not talking splits. We're just talking very specific topics that's going to help you improve as a person and in your business. And I've had some that come and they're very quiet and they're not really a part of it as much as I was hoping. Yeah. And they may not be a part of the next time when I have one. Yeah. But for the most part, everybody knows going in.
Do you have a criteria for who you're going to invite?
Well, I mean, the ones that I invite, I generally speaking have a relationship with. So I tell them that I highly respect the way that they do business, And I feel like they can add a ton of value to the other people that's within the business as well. And people look to them as a resource, and I do as well. So I think number one, it's ones I've already got connections with. The other one is people that are up and coming. Right. So I try to connect a few up and comers into the group because I feel like they see value right away. They're thinking, yeah, I'll be a part of this. I just want to learn. Right. And so that's always another part of it that helps as well.
How long does your mastermind run?
I try to keep it to no more than an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Yes. You're providing some beverages, light snacks, whatever.
Yep. I normally just have, tell you the truth, normally they don't have the snacks. They're just right into it. But we'll have just cookies and water and coffee, things like that.
Yep. Okay, cool. Very nice. Love that idea. More people should be doing that. Again, it's a relationship builder, and who doesn't love their ego stroked, So that also feeds into that whole psychology play. Mm-hmm. All right, man. Listen, I know you're busy. You got a lot of stuff to do, and this has been a great crash course in becoming a digital mayor in Michiana. I love it. That's right. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be wearing the Notre Dame colors come, what is this? The day after Christmas, 2 days after Christmas?
Yeah, something like that, right, yep.
But anyway, I love the town, love the area. I used to go there years ago. One of my cousins all went to Notre Dame, so there was a little bit of that affiliation there. But, listen, man, how do you want people to reach out to you? I'm going to put links to everything, but what's the best place? Is it your Facebook Michiana page or where you want to send them?
Yeah, they can comment if they want to message me on the Michiana Living TV on Facebook. You can go to my business page, Jonathan McKinnies, Hallmark Home Mortgage. My personal page is out there on Facebook as well. That's easy to connect. I'm on Instagram as well. You can also, I'd say if anyone needed to email me, they can certainly do that, which is jmckinnis@onehallmark.com. Other than that, find my podcast, Purpose and Performance Podcast, on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play.
Yeah, we'll put it all in there as well. And thank you for being such a willing person to share within this industry. That's definitely one thing that shows up about you is you're contributor and giver and have an abundance mindset. So we appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And listeners, we appreciate you. You know that. So if you like this episode or another one, hey, let us know, leave us a review, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.